I've got a bit of a surprise today, and that is a council doing something stupid. Well, okay, that's not a surprise. The surprising thing is the council very quickly realising they'd done something stupid and then doing something about it, i.e. ripping out the thing that was stupid. Now, this comes from the City of Melville, and I had no idea where this was, but I've been riding through this location many, many times over the last couple of months. And they decided to put in a speed hump trial at Apex Reserve to improve safety. Okay, that's all nice and good. And having ridden through here many times before the speed humps were put in, I easily recognised this was an area where you have to go slow, because there's a rowing club here on the right hand side, that's that white building, and the path is not super wide. It's not 1.5 meters for each lane, and it's a shared path, and you do get a lot of pedestrian traffic here. And I have been here on a weekend when there's been rowing training or a rowing regatta on, and on that grass on the left hand side there's been lots of trailers parked and people carrying rowing shells across the path. And if you've ever been around the Bay Run and seen a similar thing on, where there's all the rowing clubs, you might have experienced this kind of thing before. I mean, a rowing shell's pretty long and it takes a couple of people to carry it, and it does take some time to clear the path. So it just makes common sense to slow down, take it easy, and not come around here with your hair on fire. But I guess some people have been doing that, hence the idea of having, putting in some speed humps and trying to put this in. So what do we got? It's in response to crashes and near misses involving bike riders and pedestrians. Okay, says nothing about how many crashes. Speaking of crashes, there goes an ambulance on the freeway. It's completely blocked up. I guess there's been another crash on the freeway. Should we put speed humps on the freeway in that regard? I don't think they need them. It's only running at about 30 kilometres an hour. Okay, there's another ambulance. Sorry about that. Yes, says nothing about how many crashes, how many near misses, and in what time period. And in terms of crashes, the severity of those crashes. Obviously, any crash where a pedestrian or a cyclist hits the ground is going to be a fairly severe crash, especially if either of them is older. You're going to end up hurt and banged up and feeling pretty sore for quite some time, if not breaking some bones and things like that. So the speed hump configuration is designed to improve safety by slowing faster riders whilst also being easy to navigate for people, a variety of users and abilities. They've previously tested them with wheelchairs, people who are vision impaired, cycling without age, etc., to ensure safety and accessibility. And they want to provide a shared space where all users feel safe and supported. Right, all good. The best intentions. What is it? The best intentions can lead to hell. Maybe that's what's happened here. And at least they put in a feedback form which takes you off to a SurveyMonkey thing, which I filled out, which was very good. So I think the Melville Council, they're responding to an issue that's been raised. They've seen this as a potential solution, i.e. possibly the cheapest one, because ideally what you'd really need to do is fix the alignment of this path, or split the path so there's a pedestrian path and a cycling path. And if you separate the traffic, that automatically reduces most of the risk of collisions. You're still going to have a risk of people walking across the path from the left and right as they're going to and from the rowing sheds, etc. But you can at least avoid the kind of head-on collision or getting hit from behind risk for people travelling at different speeds. Now, this all blew up overnight. I don't know how long these speed humps have been in. I last rode around here, I think, on Monday. It's been pouring with rain ever since. Not many people have been out. They certainly weren't down then, but they were there when I went round this morning. And we have an update. This morning we became aware of incidents at the site and immediately removed the speed humps and stopped the trial. We're reviewing the incidents and speed hump trial conditions. Okay, that's all good. They must have done that sometime after I went through, because they were still there at, well, whatever time I was there. And then we go into Westcycle, who I guess are like Bicycle New South Wales or the Bicycle Network. And Okay, over the last few years, the City of Melville has expressed concerns over conflicts between path users on some of its paths. Yes. Westcycle has been involved in discussions and closed trials at various stages. Oh, good. Really good to see that the local cycling group has been brought in at an early stage to talk about it, test things, and all the rest of it. And I guess that might be why they did extensive testing with wheelchairs and the other type of users I see quite commonly around here are tandem bikes. You got someone who can see on the front and someone who's blind on the back. So you've got to make sure it's suitable for those types of users. Hand cyclists, there's quite a few of them around. Throughout these discussions, we expressed our concerns that hard measures such as speed humps designed for motor vehicles and bollards have the potential to cause greater harm than it is attempting to minimise. Certainly, if you look at the latest Austroads documentation standards, they pretty much say don't use bollards on cycle paths because they're at risk. So that's a fairly well-known fact. Whilst we appreciate the challenges presented and agree that all path users should be able to enjoy the shared path network, we encourage the city to explore, evaluate and exhaust all other soft measures available to control speed and user conflict, and to consider path widening or separation. Yes, except that would probably cost a lot more money, and I guess the council, whilst thinking that crashes are a terrible, terrible thing, doesn't want to cough up a couple of $100,000 to permanently fix the problem in the best way possible. I mean, it's, maybe $1,000 to buy those speed humps and nail them down. Well, it's probably $1,000 to buy them and $10,000 to send a crew out to do the work. Recognising that path widening is not always possible in all locations, we firmly believe that any measure that is put in place should carefully be implemented and be rigorously evaluated to ensure that they do not put at risk the majority of bike riders and other path users that use the path network appropriately. Our recent conversation with the city has assured us that they will be closely monitoring the device during the trial. We'll continue to reach out to the city and offer our feedback. If you're doing a ride, please be aware they're there, blah, blah, blah. And look, you certainly couldn't miss these things. They're bright yellow, there were cones in place when I rode through. You'd have to be coming through at 100 miles an hour to hit them without seeing them. Or you'd have to be in a large group that's transition from the road onto the path and kind of be up the back a bit and have your forward vision blocked by 5, 10, 20, 50 riders in front of you, and you hit them unexpectedly. And that's possibly what's happened here, because this is just after the transition point. When you're coming around from Mount Henry Bridge, you're on the road because, well, it's just better to be on the road if you're cycling and you leave the path to the pedestrians. But at this point, if you want to go under the Canning Bridge or get onto the Canning Bridge, you need to hop onto the path. And it's possible you've got issues with the large training groups coming through at speed and having conflict with pedestrians here. Well, what they're probably doing now is hitting these bumps, and everyone not expecting they're there, and the people up the back of the peloton, ending up on the ground, which would be pretty awful. But enough of this stuff. Let's have a look at the video. So, as I said, in this section, most of the time, if you're a confident cyclist, you're on the road and coming along here anywhere between 25 and goodness knows how many kilometres an hour, depending on how fast you are. And what you do is you come up here, there's a couple of long ramps across here you can get onto the path on. There's one there, there's one where that speed bump is, and there's the rowing club over there on the right. And look, you can see it's pretty obvious there's something going on here. And I stopped to have a look. And yes, speed hump trial, and they've got all the details there. And I decided, right, I'll go through this and actually see what it's like to ride over these. Might as well give it a proper test. And one thing you might have noticed is that is the line the bloke in front of me took. And that was actually the most sensible line to take, because when I rode over this middle bump, oh boy, talk about getting your nuts jammed up into your guts. Yeah, not very pleasant, I'll tell you that. They were quite violent, and that's on a full suspension mountain bike. I think if you hit that on a road bike or going a little bit faster, yeah, it'd be pretty easy to be just ejected completely out of the saddle. if you weren't expecting that happening. Now I just wanted to show a little bit more of the path, because you can see it's not terribly wide. It is a shared path. It goes green as we go up underneath the Canning Bridge, and this is a really sensible feature in Perth, that anywhere where there's potential for conflict between pedestrians and cyclists, they put down the green paint, they put up the convex, whatever it is, the mirrors at both sides so you can see what's coming, and maybe this would be a better treatment for that section back there. We'll just have a look at it from the rear. Let's watch the bump. Kaboink. Yeah, you can see it was a fairly decent kind of bump, but if you're riding on your own like me, there is no way in hell you could have missed that even in the dark. So yes, it's entirely possible that a peloton's run into that, and some people have been carted off injured. But I've got to say, full marks to the City of Melville for recognising that the trial's not going very well and pulling the pin on it straight away. Not like some councils we know in Sydney, where they do something stupid and 20 years later you're still arguing with them that it needs to be fixed. So thumbs up for that regard.